Imagine you're playing a game of strategy. Maybe it's League of Legends, chess, or even just trying to navigate a crowded high school hallway without making awkward eye contact with your ex. You're looking for a cheat code, right? You want that one secret move that guarantees a win. About 2,500 years ago, there was a guy in ancient China named Sun Tzu. He didn't have a keyboard or a mouse, but he wrote the ultimate strategy guide for life. Today, CEOs, pro athletes, and even world leaders carry his book, The Art of War, in their pockets. But here's the kicker. Sun Tzu wasn't a fan of fighting. In fact, his biggest flex was winning without ever having to swing a sword. Today, we're going to look at how a man from the 5th century BC can help you crush your goals in 2026. Sun Tzu wasn't born a legend. He was a consultant. He lived during the spring and autumn period, which sounds peaceful, but was actually a chaotic mess of rival kingdoms constantly at each other's throats. The story goes that King Halu of Wu heard Sun Tzu was a genius and challenged him. The king said, "I see your theories on discipline, but can you apply them to, let's say, my palace maids?" Sun Tzu didn't blink. He took 180 of the king's pampered court ladies, gave them spears, and told them to drill. When he gave an order, they just laughed. It was a joke to them. Did Sun Tzu lose his cool? No. He calmly explained the rules again. He gave the order a second time. They laughed even harder. Then, Sun Tzu did something radical. He proved that discipline starts at the top. He didn't blame the soldiers. He executed the two lead officers, who happened to be the king's favorites, to show that rules actually mean something. Suddenly, nobody was laughing. The remaining ladies marched with the precision of a modern-day drumline. He proved that success isn't about how much talent you have. It's about the structure you create for yourself. Sun Tzu's life was defined by the idea that intelligence beats brute force. He faced massive armies that outnumbered his own 10 to 1. If he had just grinded harder or hustled without a plan, he would have been a footnote in history. Instead, he persisted through calculated patience. He understood that sometimes the best way to move forward is to wait for the right moment. He once said, "Victorious warriors win first and then go to war, while defeated warriors go to war first and then seek to win." This is a massive lesson for us. How often do we jump into a project or a New Year's resolution without a plan, only to quit 2 weeks later? Sun Tzu teaches us that the battle is won in your bedroom at 11 p.m. while you're planning your next day, not just when you're on stage. What kept Sun Tzu motivated? It wasn't fame. It was the pursuit of efficiency. He hated waste. Waste of life, waste of time, waste of energy. His mindset was built on the 5 constant factors, which basically boils down to know your environment, know your commander, that's you, and follow the Tao, your internal moral compass. He stayed focused because he saw the world as a series of patterns. When things got difficult, he didn't see a problem. He saw a terrain. In the midst of chaos, there is also opportunity. Think about that. The next time your life feels like a dumpster fire, when everything is going wrong, that's actually when the best opportunities for growth show up. You just have to be calm enough to see them. You might think a legendary general spent all day yelling. In reality, Sun Tzu's discipline was quiet. It was about preparation. He was the guy who would scout the hills for 3 days before a 10-minute battle. His discipline was the sacrifice of the ego. He didn't care about looking tough. He cared about being effective. He practiced subtle strength. Appear weak when you are strong, and strong when you are weak. In our world of Instagram and TikTok, we're taught to show off everything. Sun Tzu suggests the opposite. Work in silence. Let your success be your noise. Keep your plans as dark and impenetrable as night, and when you move, fall like a thunderbolt. Now, Sun Tzu wasn't a robot. There's a subtle wit in his writing. He once suggested that if your enemy is of choleric temper, basically if they have anger issues, you should just irritate him. Imagine that. A legendary military genius basically saying, if they're a troll, just poke them until they make a mistake. He understood human nature. He knew that the biggest obstacle we face isn't a physical wall. It's the stuff inside our heads. He'd probably look at our modern road rage or Twitter feuds and just laugh, thinking, you guys are giving away your power for free. To wrap this up, let's look at a few more of his cheat codes for life. He said, if you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. The lesson. Most of our anxiety comes from not being honest with ourselves. Know your strengths, admit your weaknesses, and you'll be unstoppable. He said, the supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. The lesson. The best solution is rarely an argument. It's outsmarting the situation so the problem disappears on its own. He said, treat your men as you would your own beloved sons, and they will follow you into the deepest valley. The lesson. Kindness and empathy are actually the highest forms of leadership. Being a boss doesn't mean being a jerk. He said, move swift as the wind and closely formed as the wood. Attack like the fire and be still as the mountain. The lesson. Be adaptable. Don't be a one-trick pony. Know when to hustle and when to chill. He said, great results can be achieved with small forces. The lesson. Don't wait until you have everything to start. You have enough right now to make a move. Sun Tzu's life tells us that you don't need to be the loudest person in the room to be the most powerful. You don't need to be the most aggressive to be the most successful. True warrior status comes from discipline, the ability to control your own reactions. It comes from courage, the bravery to look at a mess and see a strategy. And it comes from success, not just winning a trophy, but mastering yourself. You are the general of your own life. The terrain ahead of you, college, careers, relationships, might look intimidating. But remember, the battle is won before it ever begins. Plan your moves, stay disciplined, and when the world expects you to charge blindly, be the mountain